The portal may be closed and Carolina's already got a bunch of guys in, but there might still be roster moves to make. How about Jamir Watkins from Florida State?
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's future Isaac cutting back into this episode to let you know, obviously, when you listen to the show, you're going to notice that Coach Rob and I don't mention anything about Drake Powell's decision to enter the NBA draft. That's because we recorded this show before that announcement came out. So when we talk about Drake in this episode, we'll talk about the potential of him declaring for the NBA draft. Honestly, it doesn't really change anything about what we said. That all still holds up. And so I just, as you listen to or watch the show, keep that in mind that we didn't know it yet. If you'd like to hear more about Drake Powell entering the NBA draft and my thoughts on it, I did a live show on Wednesday evening. You might have already listened to it. You might have already watched it. But if not, and you're watching on YouTube, I'll put a little link right up there in the corner where you can do so. If you're listening to this, it'll be in your audio podcast feed as well, and you can find it there. All right, right back to the show. Hey there, what's up? It's Thursday, April 24th, 2025. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listener watch to get your Thursday going the right way. Special shout out to all you everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course, all you insiders out there. It's great to be together. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Check it out. Joining me on the show today is our good buddy, Coach Bill Robinson, the head coach of the Milligan University Buffaloes. We're hanging out. Man, it is the last couple days of school at Milligan, so I know Coach is champing at the bit. Let me correct that and get that phrase right to finish off his school year. Coach Rob, if for those of you who are unaware, 2-decade veteran of Carolina basketball school, Carolina's summer basketball camp, just running things there, making it all happen. It's great to see. Now, where we're headed on the show today is the fact that the transfer portal closed on Tuesday evening as the clock turned to Wednesday. And so we want to just evaluate a lot of that stuff. Now, it looks like Carolina has been done in terms of roster building, but there's still the nuance of, is Drake Powell going to be out the door? And we don't know what's going to happen with Van Allen Lubin. And so Carolina is right now in what I'm calling butt covering time, where they got to cover their butt and make sure if something happens with either of those guys, that they're not caught unaware and they're not caught without the personnel they need. So we'll start there. Then we're going to go to talking about, all right, Coach Rob, the portal is closed. What do you do next if you're Carolina? What are the conversations you have? And then we're going to have a state of the portal address where I'm going to just ask Coach Rob for some thoughts, opinions on the portal. Is it long enough? Too short? Does it start at the right time? Pros, cons, all of that. But Coach, where I want to start, and the player I want to start with is actually somebody I looked at last offseason that I thought it would be great if Carolina brought in, and that's Florida State's Jamir Watkins, who for the second offseason in a row enters the portal. Last year, he was also looking at the draft, ultimately came back to play for Leonard Hamilton in what ended up being Coach Ham's last year. Are you with me? Do you like Jamir Watkins as a potential add for Carolina, or do you think, that's a weird way to ask it. What do you like about Jamir Watkins?
I love his size, his athleticism, his ability to knock down shots. He's more than a scorer. He can defend. He's got length. He can rebound, he can pass. He does all those little things as well as being able to just be able to put the ball in the bucket. So, you have to keep an eye on guys like that. You have to, especially, we've talked about the length and we've talked about size and getting bigger. And if we get opportunities to get bigger at the 2, the 3, that you have to continue to do that. Obviously, he's a great player. The little research that I've done, it doesn't sound like Carolina's, again, maybe in the top 4 with him, but you just have to keep doing your work. And I think that's what's most frustrating. It would be frustrating for me as a coaching staff to continue to have to recruit constantly. You never get a break. This should be the time to think about vacation. Should be, hey, let's talk about finals. Let's sit down and make sure everybody's doing well. Maybe a study group or 2. Hey, let's work on summer camps, which is what I'm doing right now. But at that level, you need not just a coach, but you need multiple coaches that are constantly, daily in the portal. and being able to make sure that they continue to stay on top of things in case things happen, because when they happen in a blink of an eye.
That's right. That's the crazy thing about the portal. We often talk about it being microwave relationships rather than crockpot relationships, like you often see in high school recruiting, and that's tough. And to your point, it helps now that Jim Tanner is in. That's a big part of what Carolina has now. So it's a little bit less on the coaches because the GM is hopefully and his folks are doing a lot of that advanced scouting so that they can come and say, hey, here's some recommendations we have for you. Coach, as you said, yeah, it doesn't seem like Carolina is in a has really been looking at Jamir Watkins, or I'm sure they've looked at him, but not really in the game with him. But he's just somebody that, man, I really like what he brings to the table. As you said, the size, the athleticism, there's all of that side of things. And he's somebody, it's weird when you look at his numbers, like his points per game went up last year, but some of his efficiency went down. Coach, what do you attribute something like that to in Jamir Watkins games where it's like, hey, you're scoring more, but the shooting percentages, the effective field goal percentage, all of that has gone down a bit?
Yeah, I think sometimes that's a role change. If all of a sudden you're expected to do more things, or just even if it's just a different season, things happen, and people tend to guard you differently. When you become a little bit more important, all of a sudden you're getting guarded by the best defender instead of maybe the second or third best defender. So pressure to win, pressure to be playing in Coach Hamilton's last season. I mean, all those things are factors that we just don't understand the pressure there, because obviously just a very beloved coach. Everybody loved him so much. You want to win for him, and sometimes that extra pressure can affect the way you play too. So all those little things that we just don't know from being on the outside, but I still love him to death. I think he'd be a great addition to the Heels.
Yeah, I mean, torched. Carolina played Florida State late in the season this year. It wasn't his season high. That was against Rice, where he had 30, but had 26 against the Tar Heels, 7 of 12 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3, 9 of 10 at the free throw line. And Coach, that stat alone is something that I love about what Jamir Watkins does, is he will get to the line. I mean, there again, Coach, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games this year where he took 10 or more free throw attempts. He had 3 games with more than 15 and 2 games with more than 20. I mean, that's insane, getting to the free throw line that much. Against Tulane, he was 19 of 23 at the free throw line alone. And you think about Carolina trying to add so much shooting, and you think about what it would be like to have, as you said, kind of a 2 or a 3 positionally you would imagine he would play for Carolina, somebody that's attacking the rim at that level to help with all that spacing. I mean, well, what does that do for your offense?
Well, those are warrior numbers. Those are guys numbers that when you think about that, that's somebody with a mentality who loves contact. And not too many guys love getting hit. They like to hit, but not a whole lot of guys like to get hit. But that's somebody who's not scared. They're going in the lane. They're going to get hit. They're going to take contact, and they're going to love it. So I think those numbers are ridiculous numbers, obviously. But when you talk about efficiency, when you talk about just points per possession, when you can get to the free throw line, when you can make free throws, not just getting there, but making them at a high clip too. I mean, that just adds so much to your offense, being able to know that you can get there and get those easy points. It also allows you to control tempo. So if you wanted to play fast, it gives you an opportunity to press like Leonard Hamilton liked to do, especially early in days when he liked to press a lot. It just allows you to, if you want to change defenses, if you want to mix things up, when you get to the line, you're able to do things like that. And obviously very, very valuable.
I said this about Andrej Stojakovic earlier this week on the show, Coach, is like, I think the thing at North Carolina that would be different than this year's Florida State team, historically Florida State has had some better players, and not that Florida State was awful this year, but I think another thing too is he wouldn't have to do as much at North Carolina as he did at Florida State. And so I would imagine, yeah, the points per game would come down some, but the efficiency numbers I think would skyrocket at North Carolina as he's able to just be one of the dudes instead of having to be the dude all the time. And another factor in that too is several people, I get in my comments a lot, and I feel some of this is like, Carolina's got to get scoring from somewhere. And I think a lot of people have trepidation over, you don't have an RJ returning who's had, over 15 points a game. Jamir Watkins is somebody who's done that, scoring over 15 points a game at the ACC level each of the past 2 years. And so, Coach, I think that's some of a factor of it as well.
It's terrifying to lose your top scorers. And I'm in the same situation. I'm losing my top 3 scorers.
Yeah.
And you do question, hey, where's this going to come from? The reality is we're still going to score points. We're not going to get shut out. I've had that conversation before in games where you get a bad start, you're down 7-0 or 9-0 or something like that. You call timeout and say, hey, I promise we're not going to get shut out today. And everybody giggles a little bit, and then you focus on what the next thing is. But the points are going to come. They're going to come from somewhere, and you'll figure that out in the summer. You'll figure it out in fall practices. Somebody will step up. You have too many good players on a roster right now. And you have somebody like Seth Trimble that maybe had take a little bit of a backseat to those other guys score. Now all of a sudden it's his time and he steps up. But there's a lot of guys who want to be the man. When it comes time to be the man, that's when you find out what you got. And I think Seth can handle some of that this year.
Yep.
I do think some of the freshmen are going to come in and they're going to score a lot. And I just think you're going to see guys step up in ways that we can't figure out now. We've got to be able to see that in the summer. You've got to be able to see that in the fall. And then let's be honest, you can run your offense depending on where you want to get your shots from. So it's not like you're just doing it randomly. You can actually tailor stuff to depending on where and how you want to get those points. So, and that's why every year is different. Hubert and I had that conversation his second year. He goes, I just didn't realize with as many guys he had coming back that it was still going to be so different. Yeah. And that's what coaching is. And let's be honest, that's the fun part of it. You got a whole new squad, you got a whole new group, you got to figure out what everything is. For us, we got guys from all over the world. We had 3 New Zealand kids, you got kids from this, that, and that. And now we got a kid visiting today from a foreign country. You got to figure out who those kids are, what makes them tick, and then how can they play together as a group. And that's what the fun of coaching is all about.
Man, that's very well said. And I'll add in both Kyan Evans and Henry Vasar at the bookends there as guys that could add a lot of that scoring punch too, and are going to need to, certainly. And so, I'd really love to see a game where a team does get shut out. I think that would be hilarious because I always like to make Coach, I've got dad jokes for days, and I think my wife is sick and tired of me watching a basketball game. And, a team scores the first bucket 3 minutes in. I go, well, there goes the shutout. I can't help myself, Coach. It's such a good joke.
I've seen it happen one time. Now, keep in mind, I went to a small Christian school, and
sure,
it was a girls', I think, freshman game, and it was a 22-0 game, and they didn't come close to me. They were 0 for 10 from the free throw line, and it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I don't remember the school, not that I would say it, but it was 22-0 shutout. Just a very embarrassing lack of talent game, but I've never seen it happen at a bigger level.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I love it. I appreciate that anecdote. So that's our butt covering time segment from Coach Rob and myself of just hey, we got to continue to look at guys that might come in should either or both of Drake Powell and Van Allen Lubin not be on the 2025-26 Tar Heels. That's kind of the state we're in right now. As Coach said, that's tough on the coaching staff. We'll look at all that here more in a little bit. But I want to continue to look at some of these players. And I thought Jamir Watkins would be a great one to look at today. So, Coach, thanks for your insights there. Now, where we want to move to is, since the transfer portal is closed, you're into a new chunk of preparation for next season. What is that preparation? What are the conversations you have? We're going to ask Coach Rob that question in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, the NBA playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team, whether you want to dive into some player props and get deeper on it. Man, that's cool. From threes to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, you don't have to just do it before the game. After the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets into a same game parlay for a chance at an even bigger win. We're talking about next season a little bit here, and so I looked ahead at the national championship odds for college basketball next year. The Tar Heels are set right now at plus 4,000. I think we can all at least celebrate this. Purdue has usurped Duke as the betting favorite right now at plus 1,000. The Blue Devils second at plus 1,100, followed by the national runner-up Houston Cougars at plus 1,200. So don't miss out. Head on over to FanDuel.com right now and claim your chance at $250 in bonus bets today. Coach, I did the Lord's work on Tuesday evening, and I stayed up to the stroke of 11:59 exactly, although it's not that big a sacrifice because I live in Central Time, and it was only 10:59 for me. I'm often up much, much later than that, so I really shouldn't be trying to catch my own flowers here. But a couple reminders here. Coach and I are recording on Wednesday, kind of during the day. Something to know is that even though the portal is officially closed, it's not that the news has to be out. It's just that players have to have their paperwork in by midnight to start the portal process, and schools have 48 hours to process that information. So as you're listening to this, there could have been other player names that came out on Wednesday, and there still could be even more that come out today, Thursday. So just keep that in mind as well. And also as a reminder, because people often get confused about this, it doesn't mean that players have to have committed to a new school. They just have to be in the portal. That's all that has to happen at this point. Okay. So, Coach, here's where I want to turn the conversation now. Carolina, in terms of transfer portal specifically, players are locked in, right? We've got Van Allen Lubin in the portal. Nobody else is. So 11 of the other 12 current scholarship players are on the team. If you're Hubert Davis, where do you start to move the conversation now that you know where things stand?
I think now it's time to start talking about philosophy issues. This is who we are based on the new squad. I'd even start talking about specifics. Hey, this is what we're going to be doing for the month of May. This is what we're doing for June, July. Make sure all the schedules are up to date. This is the time to get in the weight room. This is the time when Jonas takes over, and let's get bigger, stronger, faster. Not necessarily bigger, big, bulky. But you want to get strong. There should be a difference. Physically, this is a time. For me, also, this is a mental time. Let's take maybe a little bit of a break away from basketball for a week or two. Let's focus on it. And this is shocking, I know. Let's focus on final exams. Let's actually get some stuff done and make sure that we finish strong academically. But also let our bodies heal a little bit, and have that time to just be able to regroup. I had a kid a few years ago who was so mentally fatigued by the end of the summer because he worked so hard all summer. But by the time he got back in the fall, he just didn't want to play anymore. Yeah. And he ended up walking away from the game. So there's got to be a balance. John Wooden used to talk about balance a lot, not just physical balance on the court, but offensive balance, defensive balance, spiritual balance, social balance, all the different balances in your life. And I think that's more of what I want to talk about right now. You got to keep grinding. You got to keep working. But at the same time, this is time to be able to get away from a little bit from the stresses of it all and just be able to be a college kid. And I think that's what that's where I would go right now. Maybe not where they would go, but that's more of my thinking right now.
That makes so much sense to me. I mean, eventually your body breaks down if you don't give it the rest it needs, right? Like think about for those of you that work out, right? Like you don't just work out every day, all day long. Your muscles need time to recover. It's very similar. Your body needs time to heal. You need to focus on other things and then be able to be renewed and recharged and ready to go. Coach, I guess there is one of the main variables. I guess there are two right now, but is the NBA early entry deadline has not passed yet. That will be Saturday night at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. And it seems, anybody could do it. And I think there's wisdom in at least finding out. But I think the one we're all still looking at is Drake Powell, waiting to hear that news. Ultimately, from where I see him on draft boards right now, it seems like Drake will probably come back. But I wouldn't be shocked at all if he decides he wants to enter and go through that process. So, Coach, how with the team do you address that? Like, hey, we're all pretty locked in here, right? Like, Zayden High is back now. James Brown is coming back, all of that kind of thing. But how do you address the variable of like, we may or may not have Drake?
Yeah, I think you just have to keep it as a positive because they all have that dream and goal of playing in the NBA. So you can't blame a guy for wanting to at least experience what those situations are. I think we saw with Harrison, Ingram, and some of those other guys who went and came back. There's a maturing that happens because of that, to be able to sit in an NBA executive's office and go through those processes of interviewing and working out and all those different things that you get to make you a better person, I think helps you even, maybe especially if you come back to college, because I think you do appreciate it. It gives you a little bit different perspective on what they're, what they're looking for. What is the NBA focused on compared to what the colleges are focused on. So
Yeah.
I do think it can be spun as a positive, as long as the communication is there. And I think that's the key, is just to be able to communicate exactly what's going on.
Yeah, that's a good word. And I'm assuming you meant Harrison Barnes instead of Harrison Ingram with that. Yeah. And like, I think of other examples of Justin Jackson coming back for his junior year and had been like, look, they told me I got to shoot better from three. Well, he goes out and sets a Carolina record, becoming the first Tar Heel ever to make triple-digit threes in a season. I remember Coach Williams having great conversations with Danny Green and Ty Lawson and Wayne Ellington when they all decided to come back for what ended up being the 2009 championship team, saying, you boys can come back, but if you do, this is not about you. Obviously we want you to get individually better, but this is about North Carolina. And so, Coach, that's what I want to ask you about, is how do you tread that balance of like, yes, in this case, Drake Powell, we do want you specifically to get better at the things the NBA wants you to get better at, but it's got to happen within the North Carolina principles so that we as a team are more importantly getting better. How do you balance that?
Yeah, one of the things that it's nice, you have an assistant coach says, hey, you need to become a more consistent three-point shooter. May or may not listen to that guy as much as if you have an NBA guy say, hey, because you might think, hey, I'm a pretty good shooter and my assistant coach just expected me to do a little bit better. But when you have an NBA executive say, this is something you really need to get better, that carries a little bit more weight in my opinion. But you do want it to do within the system. So you don't want somebody to go rogue and just say, okay, well, I need to become a better three-point shooter, so every time I touch it, I'm going to shoot the three. So there's got to be, again, some common sense that goes along with it. But you do find out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what you need to work on, what you do well, and how to continue to grow and become a more rounded player. I think everybody knows that Drake can defend. I think at the NBA level, it's offensively stuff that he's got to be able to put that together. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he does.
It is. Man, we wait with bated breath, Coach, to see where that is. All right. We want to get back to just a big picture conversation about the transfer portal. I think it's good to continue to review it year after year after year. What's good, what's bad, what's broken, what needs fixed, all of that. I'm going to ask Coach for a little bit of a state of the portal conversation, and we'll do that in just a second. Right after I tell you about the Amazon Fire TV stick, did you know that your Fire TV can also be an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. You just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and more. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, you can do that. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. You can play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of getting a console. But maybe you already have a console. That's no problem. A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable. It's also easier to travel with, allowing you to take yours or your kids' games wherever it is you plug in. But maybe you have no interest in gaming. I'm not a big gamer myself. Well, great news. The Amazon Fire TV Stick is the perfect go-to for all your family's entertainment. I have one on literally every TV in my house. The platform is easy to use and navigate, and I love how customizable it is. So go check it out. Head on over to amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. It's available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Go check it all out. The portal has mercifully closed. And Coach, it's a fun new wrinkle, I guess, in some ways, because it keeps giving us fun off-season content to talk about. There was one big adjustment this year, and this is where I want to start, is that in the previous couple of years, the portal has opened the day after Selection Sunday, so that very next Monday. That's been chaos. And so thankfully, they shifted it back a week this year, and so the portal opened the day after the Sweet 16 was set that Monday. Coach, do you like that shift? And B, Do you think that that's where it should be, or would you like to see it continue to move?
I think that's the right time. And again, it's going to take some shifting to find out exactly what's best for the coaches. 16 teams are left, and everybody else is just chomping at the bit to go to work and want to get those teams set right away. So I do think it's the right time for right now. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets changed again when they figure out, okay, this didn't work, this did work. I think it's going to be a constantly evolving situation until they find out exactly how they want to do it. But I think it seems to have been much better this year than it was last year.
Yeah. Coach, I've been an advocate for waiting at least one more week till we're down to the Final Four, or even the day after the national championship, like that Tuesday, or even opening on, if they want to keep it a Monday, open it on national championship day. In your mind as a coach, though, is that too far after the season? Because while I want those 16 or 4 teams to have their shot, there are 364 total teams, and there's 350 or whatever that are already done and sitting there twiddling their thumbs wishing they could get going. Like, what's the appropriate balance there? I want the coach's angle on it.
Yeah, I think the fans say, okay, let's wait so there's no nonsense. Let's just have the focus on the actual games and the tournament. As a coach, most of my Division I friends, they may go to the Final Four for a day or two, but they're still working. I go to the Final Four to hang out with my coaching staff, my son, and watch the games. Because it's not really a big time for us recruiting. For them, it's the ultimate time because everything is just wide open. So they can't relax. They can't have fun. They're not going to go sit in the arena and watch the games. They want to start building the team for next year. Roster construction, we've talked more and more about that on the show, and you've got to be able to get started as fast as possible. And again, we've talked about the microwave versus the crock pot. Things happen so much quicker now. You've got to be able to jump in and get going right away. So I don't think it's going to get any later. I think it's probably where it should be.
Okay. I like that. Now, the other big change that happened this year is 2 years ago in 2023, Coach, the portal was literally double the length it was this year. It was 60 days. Last year, they cut a quarter off of that down to 45 days. And this year, a third off of that down to 30 days. Man, I'm real good at fractions here in real time today, Coach. So from a length standpoint, 60, 45, and 30 is what we've experienced in the last 3 years. What's the right length?
30 is plenty of time. Let's do it. I mean, everybody knows, let's get the postseason meetings, guys, meet with the coaches, and let's go ahead and get that done. There's no reason to drag it out. And I think that's fair to everybody. It allows everybody to know exactly where you stand as quickly as possible. The old adage that Coach Williams used to talk about, yes and no are great answers in recruiting. The maybe is the worst. Nobody wants the maybe. Nobody wants to wait. The old Tom Petty, waiting is, the hardest part. Nobody wants to wait. Everybody wants to get going as quickly as possible. 30 days, everybody should be able to get in that time. There shouldn't be a whole lot of messing around.
I like that. And something I like about the basketball portal as opposed to the football one is the football one is divided up because of spring practice. So you have the portal that opens in December there, and where the portal is open again right now after spring practice, and guys are jumping in left and right. So I like that it's all contained for basketball. That seems to be really helpful to me. One other wrinkle and nuance on it, though, obviously, is let's say there's more coaching movement. And so if a coach leaves, it does restart a 30-day window for them. So, Coach, let me just ask you then, big picture, beyond the logistics of when it opens and how long it opens, as you look at this, what are the pros right now of the transfer portal? What do you think are the good things of it?
Yeah, the good things is it allows the guys to be able to move around if they're not happy with the situation that they're in, or if they are seeking better opportunities financially for themselves. I think it does. Obviously, coaching change and it allows them to move. I think those are the good things. It does allow guys to be able to. It's free agency, but it allows them to get into a better situation for them. I would like to think that some of it's academic too. They got maybe a situation to get a better academic group, but that's really not what it's about. It's about the financial gain of it for them to be able to get more money. And if they're able to do that, I think that's a good thing for the student athlete.
That makes a ton of sense to me. What about the flip side of it, Coach? Because I think we hear so much more about the negatives of the transfer portal than we do the wins. And so I do want to continue to lift up the wins, but man, it does have a lot of fixes that need to happen. From your vantage point, what are the cons right now of the portal?
There's a couple. One is I still believe in college being an academic institution, and we want kids to get a degree. I've got 3 kids, former players of mine that are playing professionally right now. All 3 of them have their degree. So when the ball stops rolling, they can go back on their degree, then get a job. I can't imagine you are an academic advisor. You are a situation where you have to deal with kids on a daily basis, semester by semester basis, trying to figure out what their academic class schedule is going to be for the following semester. I just can't imagine having a guy come in and say, I've been in 4 schools in 4 years, and now I'm going to my 5th, and now you got to figure out what classes I'm going to be able to try to get to graduate in a year. It's just most schools, you're just not going to be able to do that, regardless of how many credits actually do, transfer. You're just not going to see kids get their degrees, and that's disappointing in my mind. And then you got the situation like with Baylor. You have every single person on your team, go into the portal. How are you supposed to coach in a situation like that? Scott Drew, that's not what he signed up for when he got into coaching, that he was going to have to reload, an entire roster year to year. And, Coach Davis and I talked about this early on too. He still wants to build a program where you have a program that lasts for years and you just kind of build in that program. Now it's a 1-year team and you're just building teams individually and just planning on a whole different team the next year. Coaching's different when you have all new guys and have to reteach everything, every drill, every offense, every defense, every little thing has to be taught over again because nobody, has your philosophies from the previous year. That's not what I signed up for either.
No. That's wild. And I appreciate you saying that's not what I signed, because I think when we have these portal conversations, everyone looks at just their angle on it often. And I think it's important to remember that there's so many stakeholders, from student athletes to coaches to athletic administrators to the NCAA. It's like it's just hard to make the concessions that have everyone's best interests at heart. And I think that's part of what continues to make this a difficult path to navigate, Coach. And so we'll have to continue to look on that. A quick note here, literally as we're recording, Coach, on yesterday's show, I had talked about Carolina's non-conference schedule. They're playing in the Fort Myers tip-off, not a traditional MTE where they're getting 3 games, but they will play 2 games in that. We already knew that they would be playing Michigan State on Thanksgiving Day. Literally just announced like 15 minutes ago is that Saint Bonaventure is now joining the tip-off as well. And I believe, let me just read this. This is from Saint Bonaventure. The 8th annual Fort Myers tip-off will feature a set of 4 predetermined matchups as part of its Beach Division schedule. Saint Bonaventure will face North Carolina on November 25th. I think that's the Tuesday of the week, while the Tar Heels will face the Spartans on Thanksgiving. Yes, so that'll be Tuesday. Okay, so Coach, now we know Carolina's second opponent there in Fort Myers. That will be the St. Bonaventure's team, GM'd, by the way, by Adrian Wojnarowski himself, who stepped out of his role with the NBA, with ESPN, to do that. And so, this non-con schedule is now, wow, so much easier already than last year. And we were wondering if Carolina would get a big ticket opponent in that other game. And it looks like it won't be. It'll be an A-10 team. So that's what we're looking at there. Coach, and any initial reactions to that?
Well, I think this is part of it. When you have new teams and basically starting over in some sense, like Baylor situation, you have to have games early on that you can win and that you can play more than what your roster's, your regular rotation is going to be. So you want a game where you can play 12 guys instead of having to play 7 or 8 or 9. So I do think it's going to affect scheduling in a way where you want to be able to play those games early, get a win, have a little bit of positive, but also get a chance to play everybody.
Man, crazy stuff. Okay, so Carolina and the Bonnies, that'll be a lot of fun before we get Carolina and Michigan State on Thanksgiving Day. Very much looking forward to that. Coach, as always, brother, thank you for your thoughts and insights and wisdom. So grateful for you being with us. And, man, congrats on the near end of another school year for you. Folks, thanks for being with us on the show today. If you've not subscribed to Locked On Tar Heels on YouTube and other places, make sure you do that right now. If you're on YouTube, you can hit subscribe subscribe right down there at the bottom of the screen to make sure you don't miss a second of the show. If you've not joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, that's a place with over 500 Carolina fans hanging out, talking Tar Heels stuff all the time. We'd love to see you there. If you want to go even deeper, join the Locked On Tar Heels Insider Program, where you get direct access to messaging me all the time with some other perks as well. That link is also in the show notes. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow to wrap up the week, but until then, peace.